Kang Tae-ho had lived in the jungle for 3 months now. He woke up each morning to the sound of birds. He fell asleep each night to the calls of insects. The jungle was his home, and he loved every part of it. He was a wildlife researcher. His job was to study endangered animals and write reports about them. But the truth was simpler than that. He came here to escape. The world outside was too loud, too angry, too broken. Here, among the ancient trees and hidden streams, he found peace. Before the jungle, Tae-ho was a military medic. He had seen things that still visited him in dreams. He had held dying soldiers in his arms. He had watched good men become monsters. When his service ended, he could not return to normal life. The city felt like a cage. People felt like strangers. Only nature understood him. Tonight was different from other nights. Tae-ho sat outside his small tent, eating rice from a metal cup. The moon was full and bright. The jungle was alive with its usual sounds. Then, without warning, everything went silent. The birds stopped singing. The insects stopped calling. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Tae-ho looked up at the sky. A light was falling through the clouds. It was not a star. It was not lightning. It was something else entirely. The light was blue and silver, and it moved like it was alive. It twisted and turned as it fell, leaving a trail of sparks behind it. Tae-ho watched it disappear behind the distant trees. A moment later, the ground shook. Not like an earthquake. More like something very heavy had landed. His equipment started acting strange. His radio made sounds he had never heard before. His compass spun in circles. His phone screen turned to static and then went black. Any normal person would have stayed in their tent. Any smart person would have waited until morning. But Tae-ho was not thinking about being normal or smart. Something deep inside him was telling him to follow that light. It was the same feeling that told him which path to take in the jungle. The same feeling that warned him about danger before it came. He trusted that feeling. It had never been wrong. Tae-ho packed a small bag with water, medicine, and a flashlight. He took his knife and his rope. Then he walked into the darkness. The jungle at night was a different world. Shadows moved between the trees. Eyes glowed in the beam of his flashlight. Most people would be afraid. Tae-ho was not. He knew these shadows. He knew these eyes. They were his neighbors. He walked for hours. The path was difficult. Vines blocked his way. Roots tried to trip him. Mud pulled at his boots. But he kept going. Something strange was happening. The jungle was helping him. When he reached a fork in the path, a bird flew down and sat on a branch, pointing one direction. When thick vines blocked his way, they seemed to part on their own as he approached. When he needed to cross a dangerous river, stepping stones appeared just below the water surface. Tae-ho had lived in nature long enough to know this was not normal. The jungle was guiding him somewhere. It wanted him to find something. As the first light of dawn touched the sky, he reached the forbidden zone. Local villages had warned him about this place. They said spirits lived here. They said anyone who entered would never return. Tae-ho had always respected their beliefs. He had never tried to enter, but now the jungle was leading him straight into it. He took a deep breath and stepped across the invisible line. Nothing happened. No spirits appeared. No curse fell upon him. Just more trees, more vines, more silence. He walked for another hour. The trees here were older than any he had seen. Their trunks were wider than houses. Their branches blocked out the sun. This was ancient forest, untouched by humans for thousands of years. Then he saw it. At first, his brain could not understand what his eyes were seeing. It was too big, too strange, too impossible. A structure sat in a clearing between the giant trees. It was the size of a small building, but shaped like nothing he had ever seen. Smooth curves, no corners. The surface looked like metal, but it shimmered like water. Vines and leaves covered most of it, like the jungle was trying to hide it. Energy leaked from cracks in its surface. blue light. The same blue light he had seen falling from the sky. It was a ship, not a boat, not an airplane. A ship from somewhere that was not Earth. Tejo stood frozen. His mind raced with questions. How was this possible? Who built this? Where did it come from? Before he could think of answers, a sound made him turn. Someone was standing behind him. It was a woman. At least she looked like a woman, but her skin was silver blue, like moonlight on water. Her eyes were violet, and they glowed softly in the shadow of the trees. Her hair was white and long, falling past her shoulders like a waterfall of snow. She was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. She was also pointing a weapon at his chest. The weapon hummed with energy. Tejo did not know what it would do to him, but he knew it would not be good. "You should not be here," the woman said. Her voice was cold and hard, like ice breaking. She spoke his language, but her accent was strange, wrong, like she had learned the words but not the music of how they fit together. "Leave now, and you might live." Tejo looked at the weapon. He looked at her glowing eyes. He looked at the impossible ship behind her. Any smart person would run. Any normal person would beg for their life. But Tejo had stopped being normal or smart a long time ago. He saw something the woman probably did not want him to see. Her hand was shaking, not from anger, from weakness, and on her side, beneath her strange clothing, something was glowing. Blue light, leaking out like it leaked from her damaged ship. She was hurt, badly. Tejo slowly raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "I am not going to hurt you," he said quietly, "and I am not going to leave." The woman's violet eyes widened with confusion. This was not the reaction she expected. "I can help you," Tejo continued. "I was a medic. I can treat wounds. Whatever is wrong with you, let me try to fix it." The weapon trembled more. The woman's breathing became heavy. She was fighting to stay standing. "You do not understand," she whispered. "If you stay, you will die. They are coming. They will kill anyone who has seen me." "Then we should probably get you inside your ship," Tejo said calmly, "before they arrive." The woman stared at him. In her thousands of years of life, she had met many species across many worlds. She had never met one like this, a creature that faced death and offered help instead of running. She opened her mouth to argue. Then her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. Tejo caught her before she hit the ground. She was lighter than he expected. Her skin was cool to the touch, like holding smooth stone. The wound on her side glowed brighter now. Blue liquid seeped through her fingers. He did not know what she was. He did not know where she came from. He did not know what was hunting her, but he knew she would die without help. Tejo lifted her in his arms and carried her toward the impossible ship. The entrance opened as he approached, like the ship itself was welcoming him. Inside, everything was strange. The walls glowed with soft light. Screens showed symbols he could not read. The air smelled like flowers and electricity. He found something that looked like a bed and laid her down gently. Then Kang Tae-ho, a simple wildlife researcher from Korea, began trying to save an alien princess from the stars. Outside, the jungle stood guard, hiding them from the world. Something had changed this night, something that would change everything. And it was only the beginning. The woman's wound was like nothing he had ever seen. On a human, blood would be red and warm. Her blood was blue and cold. It glowed softly, like liquid light. When he touched it, his fingers tingled with strange energy. He did not have the right tools. He did not have the right medicine. He did not even know if human medicine would help or hurt her. But he had years of training and something more important than knowledge. He had instinct. The wound was on her side, below her ribs. Something had burned through her clothing and skin. Not a bullet, not a blade. Some kind of energy weapon. The edges of the wound were black and crispy. The center still glowed with fading heat. Taeho cleaned the wound with water first. She moaned but did not wake up. He looked around the ship for anything that might help. On a shelf, he found containers filled with colored liquids. One was the same blue as her blood. He smelled it carefully. It did not smell dangerous. He decided to trust his gut. He poured a little on a clean cloth and pressed it to her wound. The effect was immediate. The black edges began to fade. The burned flesh started to heal. Slowly, but it was healing. Taeho let out a breath he did not know he was holding. He stayed by her side all night. He changed the cloth every hour. He watched her breathing become steady. He watched her face relax from pain to peace. She was beautiful. Even hurt and unconscious, she looked like something from an old story. A princess from a fairy tale. Except this fairy tale was real, and her kingdom was somewhere among the stars. When morning light came through the ship's windows, she finally opened her eyes. Those violet eyes looked at him with shock and anger. She sat up fast, then grabbed her side with a gasp of pain. Taeho reached out to help her, but she slapped his hand away. "Do not touch me!" she snapped. Her voice was stronger now, but still weak. "What did you do to me? What did you give me?" "I treated your wound," Taeho said calmly. "I used the blue liquid from that shelf. I guessed it was medicine." The woman looked at the container, then at her side. She pulled back her clothing slightly to see the wound. Her eyes widened. "You used restoration fluid," she said slowly. "That is expensive medicine, meant for Silurian biology only. It should not work on other species. It should not—" "How did you know to use it?" Taeho shrugged. "I did not know. I just felt like it was the right thing." The woman stared at him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Why are you here? How did you find this place?" "My name is Kang Taeho. I am a wildlife researcher. I saw your ship fall from the sky. The jungle led me here." "The jungle led you?" Her voice was flat with disbelief. "Yes, I know it sounds strange. But the forest has its own way of speaking. I have learned to listen." The woman was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was not a happy sound. "I crashed on a primitive planet, and my rescuer is a human who talks to trees." She shook her head. "The universe has a cruel sense of humor." "Maybe," Taeho agreed. "But I am the reason you are still alive, so perhaps you should be a little nicer to me." The woman's eyes narrowed. Nobody talked to her this way. She was Princess Valira of the Silurian Empire. Commanders bowed before her. Warriors died for her honor. And this simple human was telling her to be nice? But he was right. He had saved her life. Even she could not deny that. "Fine," she said coldly. "You have my thanks. Now leave. Go back to your forest and forget you ever saw me." "No." The word hung in the air between them. "No?" Valira repeated the word like she had never heard it before. "You are hurt. Your ship is damaged, and you said something about people coming to kill you. I am not leaving you alone like this." Valira stood up too fast. Her legs shook, and she had to grab the wall to stay standing. "You do not understand what you are dealing with, human. I am not some lost animal you can take care of. The beings hunting me would destroy your entire species just to reach me. Your presence here puts us both in danger." "Then tell me who they are," Taeho said. "Help me understand." "Why? Why do you care? You do not know me. You owe me nothing." Taeho thought about her question. It was a good one. Why did he care? She was rude to him. She showed no gratitude. She was clearly dangerous and came with even more dangerous problems. But when he looked at her, he did not see an alien princess. He saw someone who was scared, someone who was alone, someone who had been running for so long she had forgotten what it felt like to stop. He knew that feeling. He knew it very well. "Because everyone deserves help when they are hurt," he said simply. even princesses from other planets. Valira froze. How did you know I was a princess? Tejo smiled slightly. You carry yourself like royalty, even when you are injured and angry. It is in the way you stand, the way you speak. I have seen generals and politicians. You outrank all of them. For a moment, something soft flickered across Valira's face. Then it was gone, replaced by her usual cold mask. You are observant for a primitive species, she admitted. Thank you. I think. Valera moved slowly to a chair and sat down with careful movements. She was still weak, but too proud to show it more than necessary. I will not tell you everything, she said finally. But I will tell you enough so you understand why you should leave. Tejo sat down across from her. I am listening. I am Princess Valira of the Silurian Empire. Or I was. My empire fell 6 cycles ago. A commander named Draven led a rebellion against my family. He murdered my parents. He murdered my siblings. He burned our palace and killed everyone who served us. Her voice did not shake. It was too controlled, too practiced, like she had repeated these facts so many times they no longer hurt. But Tejo saw her hands grip the arms of the chair until her knuckles turned pale blue. I alone escaped, she continued. I have been running ever since. Draven wants to marry me, not for love, for power. My family ruled for 10,000 years. The people still see us as the true rulers. If Draven marries me, he becomes legitimate. His crimes become forgotten. And you would rather die? Tejo said quietly. Yes. The word was simple and absolute. I will never give him that victory. Never. She looked at him with those glowing violet eyes. Now, do you understand? Draven will find me. He always does. And when he comes, he will kill everything on this planet that has seen my face. Your forests, your animals, you, all of it, just to make sure no one knows his secret. She expected him to run now. She expected fear. Instead, Tejo stood up and walked to the ship's entrance. He looked out at the jungle, golden with morning light. Then I guess we should not let him find you, he said, at least not until you are ready to fight back. Valira opened her mouth to argue, but no words came out. She had met thousands of beings across dozens of worlds. Warriors who promised to protect her and failed. Politicians who swore loyalty and betrayed her. She had learned to trust no one. But this human, this strange man who talked to trees and saved alien princesses, made her feel something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. She hated it. Hope was dangerous. Hope got people killed, but she could not make it go away. You are a fool, she said finally. Tejo turned back to her with a small smile. Probably. Now are you hungry? I make very good rice. And despite everything, despite the pain and the fear and the death that followed her across the stars, Princess Valira laughed. It was a small laugh, surprised and short, but it was real. Tejo fell into a routine. Each morning he would leave the ship to gather food and check his traps. Each afternoon he would return and cook meals for both of them. Each evening he would change Valira's bandages and watch her grow stronger. She did not thank him. She barely spoke to him. But she ate the food he brought. She let him treat her wounds. And slowly, so slowly he almost did not notice, she began to watch him. Valira had studied many species during her royal education. She knew about humans. Her teachers called them primitives, violent creatures who had not even left their own planet yet. They fought wars over land and religion and skin color. They polluted their world and killed their own kind. Her textbook said humans would destroy themselves within a few generations. But Tejo did not match anything she had learned. She watched him sit perfectly still for an hour, waiting for a deer to approach. She watched him catch fish with his bare hands, then release the small ones back into the stream. She watched him talk to birds like they were old friends. One morning, she followed him outside. Her legs were strong enough now. Her wound had almost healed. Tejo was kneeling by a tree, examining something on the ground. "What are you doing?" she asked. He did not look surprised to see her. "Looking at these tracks? A tiger passed through here last night. She has 2 cubs with her." Valira looked at the marks in the mud. They meant nothing to her. "How can you tell so much from dirt?" "The size tells me she is female. The depth tells me she is well-fed, which means she is hunting successfully. These smaller prints beside hers are cubs, maybe 3 months old." He stood up and smiled. "She will not bother us. Tigers avoid humans when they can. She knows I am here." "She knows you specifically?" "We have met before. I helped her when she had a thorn in her paw. She remembers." Valira stared at him. "You helped a tiger, a predator that could kill you with 1 strike. She was in pain. Pain does not care about species." He began walking along a narrow path. After a moment, Valira followed. She told herself it was because she needed exercise, not because she was curious about him. They walked in silence for a while. The jungle was alive with sounds and colors. Valira had seen many worlds, but this one had a special kind of beauty. Everything was connected. Everything was alive. "How long have you lived here?" she asked. 3 months this time. But I have been coming to jungles like this for 5 years. "Why?" Tejo was quiet for a long moment. "Because I needed to escape." "From what?" He stopped walking. His back was to her, but she could see his shoulders tense. "I was a soldier," he said finally. "A medic. My job was to save lives, but I saw too much death, too much pain. Men killing each other over things that did not matter. Boys dying in the dirt, calling for their mothers." His voice was steady, but there was an old ache beneath the words. "When my service ended, I could not go back to normal life. The cities felt wrong. The people felt like strangers. I could not sleep without nightmares." He turned to face her. His eyes were sad but calm. "So I came here. To the jungle. Where life and death are simple. Where everything has a purpose. Where I could remember how to breathe again." Valira understood, more than she wanted to admit. "You ran away," she said, not as an insult, as a recognition. "Yes. My teachers would say that is weakness." Tejo smiled slightly. "What do you think?" Valira considered the question. She thought about her own running, her years of hiding, the shame she carried for not dying with her family. "I think," she said slowly, "that sometimes running is the only way to survive long enough to find your strength again." Tejo nodded. "That is what I believe too." They stood there in the green shadows, 2 broken people from different worlds, understanding each other without more words. A colorful bird landed on a branch nearby. It sang 3 notes, then flew away. "The stream is close," Tejo said. "Do you want to see it?" Valira almost said no. She almost reminded him that she was a princess, not a tourist. But the word that came out was different. "Yes." The stream was beautiful. Clear water ran over smooth stones. Sunlight broke through the canopy and turned the water into liquid gold. Small fish darted between the rocks. Tejo sat on a large stone by the edge. After a moment, Valira sat beside him. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "You can ask. I might not answer. What was your home like before it fell?" Valira closed her eyes. The question brought memories she usually kept locked away. The crystal towers of the capital. The gardens that floated in the clouds, her mother's voice, her father's laugh, her little brother's smile. "Beautiful," she whispered. Everything was beautiful. "We had peace for 10,000 years. Art and science and music. We thought it would last forever." What went wrong? Draven happened. Her voice hardened. He was a war commander from a conquered province. My father trusted him, gave him power and position, and Draven used that power to build an army in secret. By the time we realized the truth, it was too late. I am sorry, Tejo said. The words were simple but genuine. Sorry does not bring back the dead. No, but it helps the living remember they are not alone. Valira opened her eyes and looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time. He was not handsome by Silurian standards. His skin was brown and warm instead of silver. His eyes were dark instead of bright. He was smaller than Silurian males, less muscular, but there was something in his face, a kindness, a patience. A deep well of calm that made her feel steady just by being near him. Why are you helping me? She asked. The truth. Tejo picked up a small stone and turned it over in his fingers. When I was at my worst, he said, a stranger helped me. An old man in a village near one of the jungles. I had a fever and no money and no hope. He took me into his home and cared for me for 3 weeks. When I asked him why, he said something I never forgot. What? He said, kindness is not a gift we give to others. It is a debt we owe to everyone who was ever kind to us. We pay it forward, not back. Tejo threw the stone into the stream. It made a soft splash. Someone was kind to me when I needed it. Now I can be kind to you. Maybe someday you will be kind to someone else. That is how the universe heals. Valira felt something crack inside her chest. A wall she had built over years of running, years of trusting no one, years of believing kindness was a weapon used by enemies. She did not cry. She had forgotten how. But her eyes burned in a way they had not burned for a long time. On my world, she said quietly, kindness was considered weakness. Rulers who showed mercy were overthrown. My father tried to be kind. Look where it got him. Maybe your world was wrong, Tejo said gently. Maybe. She looked at the stream, at the fish, at the dancing light. Or maybe kindness only works in places like this. Small places, hidden places, where the cruel cannot find you. Perhaps that is why we are both here, Tejo said, hiding in a small place, learning to be kind again. Valira did not answer. But when they walked back to the ship, she walked beside him instead of behind him. And that night, when he brought her dinner, she said 2 words she had not said in years. Thank you. Tejo just smiled and handed her the bowl. Outside, the jungle sang its ancient song. And somewhere among the stars, Draven's ships moved closer. But for now, in this small hidden place, there was peace. Valira stood inside her ship, staring at the damaged engine core. Red lights blinked warnings in a language Tejo could not read, but he understood the look on her face well enough. It is bad, he said, not a question. The core is cracked. I can fix most systems with time, but the core needs a specific mineral to seal properly. Without it, the ship will never fly again. What kind of mineral? Valira pulled up an image on one of her screens. It showed a dark crystal with blue veins running through it. We call it starstone. It forms deep underground in places where certain geological conditions exist. Hot water, volcanic activity, extreme pressure. Tejo studied the image. Something about it looked familiar. I think I know where to find this, he said slowly. Valira turned to him sharply. That is impossible. This mineral is rare even on developed worlds. Your planet is primitive. You would not even recognize it. Maybe not, but I have explored caves in this jungle, deep caves near old volcanic vents. I have seen crystals that look like this. He pointed at the blue veins in the image. The locals call them ghost stones. They say spirits live inside them. I always thought it was just superstition. Valira's violet eyes widened. Where? How far? 2 days' walk. Maybe 3. The path is difficult. There are dangers. I do not care about danger. Show me. Tejo shook his head. You are not fully healed. The journey would be hard even for someone healthy. I have survived worse than a jungle walk. Not this jungle. There are things here that your technology cannot protect you from. Quicksand that swallows you in seconds. Plants that poison with a touch. Snakes with venom that kills in minutes. Valira crossed her arms. Then I will be careful. Tejo could see he would not win this argument. Once he would have insisted on going alone. But he had seen her eyes when she talked about her ship. It was not just a machine to her. It was her last connection to home. Her only hope of fighting back against Draven. He understood that kind of hope. He would not take it from her. Fine, he said. We leave at first light. Bring your weapon and do exactly what I tell you. Valira smiled. It was small but real. I am a warrior princess, human. I have trained since childhood. In jungles? The smile faded. No. Then trust me. Here, I am the expert. They left when the sun was just touching the treetops. Valira wore her alien clothing under a jacket Tejo gave her. Her weapon hung at her side. She moved well despite her healing wound. The first day was not too difficult. Tejo led them along paths he knew. He pointed out dangers before they became problems. This vine is poisonous. That stream has crocodiles. Do not step on those leaves. Valira watched everything with sharp eyes. She was learning, adapting. Tejo saw the warrior in her now, the princess who had trained since childhood. She moved quietly and paid attention to details. You are good at this, she admitted that evening as they made camp. I have had practice. No, it is more than practice. You read the jungle like I read ship systems, like it is a language you were born speaking. Tejo poked their small fire with a stick. My grandmother used to say some people have old souls, souls that remember lives from before. She said I was born with the soul of a forest spirit. Do you believe that? I believe something connects me to nature. Whether it is an old soul or just luck, I do not know. But I feel it. The jungle talks to me. I cannot explain it better than that. Valira looked at the fire. The flames reflected in her violet eyes like tiny stars. On my world, we have legends about people like you. Naturals, we called them. Beings who could bond with living things through some ancient power. We thought they were myths. Maybe they were. Or maybe the universe has more mysteries than your technology can explain. She did not argue. They sat in comfortable silence until sleep came. The second day was harder. The terrain grew steep and rocky. Rivers cut through the land, too deep to cross easily. Tejo found paths around every obstacle, but progress was slow. In the afternoon, they reached the danger zone. Walk exactly where I walk, Tejo warned. The ground here is not solid. He moved forward carefully, testing each step. Valira followed in his footprints. For 30 minutes, they moved through what looked like normal ground. Then Valira's foot slipped just slightly to the left. The ground grabbed her ankle. Quicksand. Do not move! Tejo was beside her instantly. Do not struggle. It will pull you deeper. Valira's hearts were pounding. She could feel the mud sucking at her leg, cold and hungry. Every instinct screamed at her to pull away. But she forced herself to stay still. Tejo grabbed a vine from a nearby tree. He made a loop and threw it around her waist. Lean back. Spread your weight. I will pull you slowly. She did what he said. Slowly, centimeter by centimeter, he pulled her from the quicksand's grip. When she was finally on solid ground, she lay on her back, breathing hard. Tejo knelt beside her. Are you hurt? No, just surprised. She looked at him. You saved my life again. I told you, the jungle is dangerous. I should have listened more carefully. She sat up, wiping mud from her leg. I am sorry. Teho blinked. A princess apologizing to him. That was new. It is okay. Everyone makes mistakes, even warrior princesses. She laughed. A real laugh this time, not the bitter sound from before. You are never going to let me forget I said that, are you? Probably not. They reached the caves by evening. The entrance was hidden behind a waterfall. Teho had discovered it 2 years ago while tracking a wounded animal. Inside, the caves went deep into the mountain. The walls glowed with strange fungus. The air smelled like minerals and ancient water. They walked for an hour before finding what they sought. A cavern opened before them like an underground cathedral, and there, covering the walls like frozen lightning, were crystals. Dark stone with glowing blue veins, hundreds of them, thousands. Valira gasped. Starstone, more than I have ever seen in one place. She moved forward carefully, pulling a device from her belt. It beeped and flashed as she scanned the crystals. Finally, she pointed at a large formation near the ceiling. That one. The purity is perfect. Teho looked at the climb. It was possible, but risky. I will get it, he said. Let me. I am the one who needs it. You are still healing, and you have the tools to extract it properly. Let me climb. I am good at climbing. Before she could argue, he was already moving. His hands found holds in the rock. His feet found ledges. He moved up the wall like he had done it 1,000 times. Because he had. When he reached the crystal, he called down. Tell me how to remove it without damaging it. Valira guided him through the process. Cut here, twist there, pull gently. The crystal came free in his hands. It was beautiful up close. The blue veins pulsed with soft light like a heartbeat. He climbed down carefully and placed it in Valira's waiting hands. She held it like it was the most precious thing in the universe, because to her, it was. Thank you, she whispered. You do not know what this means. I think I do, Teho said. It means you can go home someday. It means you can fight back. It means you have hope. Valira looked up at him. In the blue glow of the crystals, her eyes were more beautiful than ever. Yes, she said softly. Hope. They made camp in the cavern that night, safe from predators, warm from geothermal heat. The crystals around them glowed like captured stars. Valira sat close to Teho, closer than she needed to. Her shoulder almost touched his. I have traveled across the galaxy, she said. I have seen wonders that would break your mind with their beauty. But I think this cave, on this primitive planet, with this strange human beside me, might be the most magical place I have ever been. Teho smiled. The universe is full of magic. Most people just forget how to see it. You see it. I try. They sat in silence. The crystals hummed softly. The waterfall echoed in the distance. Tomorrow they would return to the ship. Tomorrow reality would come rushing back. Draven, danger, war. But tonight, in a crystal cave on a planet called Earth, a human and an alien princess found something neither of them expected. Peace. And maybe, just maybe, something more. Valira jumped up, her hand reaching for her weapon before her eyes were fully open. Red lights flashed across the ship's interior. A sound like screaming metal filled the air. What is happening? Teho asked. Valira was already at the main console, her fingers flying over controls. Her face went pale, even paler than her silver-blue skin normally was. Ships, 3 of them, entering your planet's atmosphere. Teho felt cold spread through his chest. Draven? His scouts, advance hunters. They scanned for Silurian technology. She slammed her hand against the console. My repairs triggered a signal. They found me. How long until they arrive? Hours, maybe less. They will land nearby and search on foot. Draven likes his hunters to make kills personal. Teho's mind raced. He thought about the jungle, about the dangers he knew, about the terrain he had mapped in his head over months of exploration. "Can your ship fly?" "No. The Starstone needs 3 more days to integrate with the core. We cannot run." "Then we hide." Valira shook her head. "You do not understand. These are not ordinary soldiers. They are trackers. They have technology that can find a single heartbeat from kilometers away. They will find us. They always find their targets. Not in my jungle." Something in Tai-Ho's voice made Valira stop. She looked at him. Really looked. His face had changed. The gentle man who fed birds and talked to trees was gone. In his place was someone harder, someone who had survived wars. "What are you planning?" she asked. "You said they like to hunt on foot. Good. The jungle is my territory. I know every path, every danger, every secret this forest holds. If they want to hunt here, they will learn why humans survived when stronger creatures did not. Tai-Ho, these are trained killers. They have armor, weapons, technology you cannot imagine, and I have something they do not expect." He picked up his knife and checked its edge. "I have the jungle on my side." The scouts landed 2 hours later. 3 small ships touched down in a clearing 5 kilometers from Valira's position. She watched them on her damaged sensors. 3 hunters emerged, tall Silurians in black armor. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never failed a hunt. Their helmets scanned the environment. Their weapons hummed with deadly energy. The lead hunter spoke into a communicator. "Commander Draven, we have confirmation. The princess is here. Beginning ground pursuit." Valira turned off the sensor. She did not want to see more. "Let me fight," she said to Tai-Ho. "I am healed enough. We can face them together." "No, your job is to stay hidden and continue repairs. I need you to finish the ship. This is suicide. 1 human against 3 Silurian hunters." Tai-Ho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I do not plan to fight them. I plan to let the jungle fight them. There is a difference." He moved to the ship's entrance. Then he stopped and looked back at her. "If I do not return by morning, take the ship and run. Fly as far as you can. Do not look back." "Tai-Ho, promise me, Valira." She wanted to argue. She wanted to tell him she would never leave him. But she saw the steel in his eyes. He needed to know she would survive. "I promise," she whispered. He nodded once. Then he disappeared into the jungle. The hunters moved in formation. Standard military pattern. 1 in front, 2 behind, covering angles. Their sensors painted the jungle in data. Heat signatures, motion detection, chemical analysis. What they could not detect was intent. A bird called 3 times from a high branch. The hunters ignored it. Just local wildlife. They did not know that Tai-Ho had trained that bird. 3 calls meant danger ahead. The lead hunter stepped onto what looked like solid ground. The ground collapsed. He fell into a pit 3 meters deep, lined with sharp stakes made from bamboo. His armor protected him from the stakes. But the impact broke his leg. He screamed in pain and anger. The other 2 hunters rushed forward. Big mistake. The second hunter triggered a tripwire. A log swung down from the trees, heavy with rocks. It hit him in the chest and sent him flying into a thorny bush. The thorns were not natural. They were coated with sap from a poison tree. Within minutes, his muscles began to cramp. The third hunter was smart. He stopped moving. He scanned the trees with his weapon raised. "Come out, primitive!" he shouted. "Face me like a warrior!" Silence. Then a sound behind him. He spun and fired. The energy blast destroyed a bush. Nothing there. Another sound. To his left. He fired again. A tree exploded into flames. Nothing. He was breathing hard now, sweating inside his armor. This was wrong. Prey did not do this. Prey ran. Prey hid. Prey did not play games. But Tai-Ho was not prey. The hunter felt something brush his ankle. He looked down. A snake. Small. Colorful. He had never seen this species before. It bit him above his boot, where his armor did not cover. The hunter laughed. "Stupid creature. My blood will kill you." Then the venom hit his system. His legs stopped working. He fell to his knees. The jungle seemed to spin around him. Tae-ho stepped out of the shadows. He looked at the fallen hunter without hatred or fear. "Your blood might be different," he said calmly, "but nerve venom works on any nervous system. You will not die, but you will not move for many hours." He picked up the hunter's communicator. He changed the frequency to broadcast. "Draven's hunters have failed," he said into the device. "Your technology means nothing here. This jungle has killed things more dangerous than you for millions of years. Send more hunters if you want. The result will be the same." He dropped the communicator and walked away. Behind him, the paralyzed hunter could only watch. The first hunter, still in the pit, had managed to activate his emergency beacon. He lay there, leg broken, looking up at the circle of sky above him. A face appeared at the edge, a human face, young, calm, almost sad. "I am sorry about your leg," Tae-ho said. "I do not enjoy hurting people. But you came here to hurt someone I care about. I could not allow that." "She is just a target," the hunter spat. "A prize for Commander Draven. Why does a primitive like you care?" Tae-ho thought about the question. "Because everyone deserves someone who cares about them," he said finally. "Even princesses who pretend they do not need anyone." He disappeared from the edge of the pit. The second hunter, tangled in poisonous thorns, had managed to cut himself free, but his body was failing. The toxins were spreading. He crawled toward his ship, leaving a trail of silver blood. He never made it. By sunset, all three hunters were neutralized, not dead. Tae-ho had been careful about that, but broken, beaten, defeated by a jungle they thought was primitive and a human they thought was weak. Tae-ho returned to the ship as stars began to appear. Valira met him at the entrance. Her eyes were wet. She had been watching on the damaged sensors. She had seen everything. "You did it," she breathed. "One human against 3 hunters." "The jungle did it," Tae-ho corrected. "I just helped." She threw her arms around him. The gesture surprised them both. Silurians did not embrace. It was considered primitive, emotional, weak. But Valira did not feel weak. She felt something she had not felt since her world fell. Safe. "They will send more," she whispered against his shoulder. "Draven himself will come now." "I know," Tae-ho said. "How long until the ship is ready?" 2 more days. Then we have 2 days to prepare." He held her gently. Outside, the jungle stood guard. The hunters had learned a lesson tonight. A lesson they would carry back to Draven. Humans were not primitives. They were survivors. And survivors did not give up without a fight. Tae-ho had never seen anything so large in the sky. It was bigger than any building in any city he had visited. Dark metal shaped like a blade, hanging over the jungle like a god of destruction. The trees bent under the pressure of its engines. Birds fled in screaming clouds. Animals ran in every direction, following instincts older than memory. Valira stood beside him, her face pale with fear she could not hide. "Draven," she whispered. He came himself. The warship did not land. It hovered there, casting a shadow that stretched for kilometers. Then a voice echoed across the jungle. It came from everywhere at once, amplified by technology Tae-ho could not understand. "Princess Valira." The voice was smooth and cold, like oil poured over ice. "I know you are down there. My hunters told me about your pet human before they stopped responding. Impressive, I admit. I did not think your primitive species could cause such trouble." Tae-ho felt Valira tense beside him. "But the games end now," Draven continued. "You have 1 hour. Surrender yourself, or I will burn this entire region to ash. Every tree, every animal, every living thing. I will turn your hiding place into glass. The voice paused. Including your human. Silence fell. Even the jungle seemed to hold its breath. Valira turned to Tejo. Her eyes were filled with pain. I have to go, she said. I cannot let him destroy this place. I cannot let him kill you. No. Tejo, this is not a choice. You saw that ship. He can do exactly what he threatens. He has done it before. Entire planets burned because one person refused to surrender. And if you go, what happens then? Valira looked away. He will marry me, parade me before the galaxy as proof of his right to rule, use my face to legitimize his crimes. I will spend the rest of my life as his prisoner. You said you would rather die. I would. But I am not the only one who dies if I refuse. Tears ran down her silver cheeks. I will not let you die for me, Tejo. You have given me more than anyone has in years. You showed me that kindness still exists, that hope is not foolish. I will not repay that with your death. Tejo reached out and took her hand. Her skin was cool against his warmth. Listen to me, he said quietly. I did not survive my wars to watch someone else lose theirs. You are not just running anymore, Valira. You are the last hope for your people. If you surrender, hope dies with you. Hope cannot stand against warships. No, but it can outrun them. He squeezed her hand. Your ship. If it was fully repaired, could you broadcast a message? A message that would reach across the galaxy? Valira frowned. Yes, the communication array was undamaged. But what good is a message? You said Draven killed your family and claimed the throne by force. But he needs you to make his rule legitimate. Why? Because people still remember the truth. They still believe in your family's right to rule. They are afraid to speak. Draven kills anyone who questions him. Because he is afraid of the truth. If you could broadcast that truth to everyone, everywhere, at once, if you could show them proof of his crimes, what would happen? Valira's eyes widened. His power comes from fear and lies. If the truth spread everywhere at once, before he could stop it, his own people would turn against him. She stared at him. You want me to fight him with words? I want you to fight him with truth, the most dangerous weapon in any universe. Valira looked up at the hovering warship, at the monster who had taken everything from her. It could work, she breathed. If I had time to prepare the broadcast, if I had the evidence aboard my ship. If someone kept Draven busy while you finished. She understood immediately. No, absolutely not. Valira, you cannot fight him, Tejo. He is not a hunter in the jungle. He is a warlord with an army. If you go out there, he will kill you. I am not going to fight him. Tejo smiled slightly. I am going to do something much more annoying. I am going to survive. I do not understand. Draven expects you to surrender or hide. He does not expect a human to walk into his territory and refuse to die. Every minute he spends trying to catch me is a minute you have to finish repairs. This is madness. Probably. He leaned forward and did something that surprised them both. He kissed her forehead gently. Finish the ship. Prepare the broadcast. Show the galaxy what Draven really is. He released her hand and stepped back. And when you are done, come find me. I will be the one annoying the most powerful warlord in the galaxy. Tejo, wait! But he was already walking toward the edge of the cleared zone, toward Draven's forces. Valira wanted to chase him, to drag him back, to tell him she could not lose another person she cared about. But she saw the determination in his shoulders, the same determination that had carried him through war, through isolation, through all the broken pieces of his past. This was who he was, a man who could not walk away from someone who needed help. She wiped her tears and ran back to the ship. She had work to do. Draven's soldiers landed in waves, 50 of them, 100. They surrounded the jungle with weapons and sensors and drones. Nothing could escape their net. Tejo watched them from the shadows. He knew he could not beat them, not in a fight, not with his knife and his traps and his knowledge of the land. They had too many soldiers, too much technology. But he did not need to beat them. He just needed to make them chase him. The first soldier found a boot print near a stream, clear as a sign. He followed it into thick vegetation. He never came out. The second squad detected movement on their sensors. Heat signature, human size. They converged on the location. They found a heated rock wrapped in leaves. Nothing else. The third group thought they had him cornered in a ravine. No exits, no cover. They moved in with weapons ready. They found an empty space, and then the ground collapsed beneath them, dropping them into an underground river. Hour after hour, Tejo played his game. He never engaged directly. He never showed himself for more than seconds. He was a ghost in the green darkness. Draven watched from his ship with growing fury. "One human," he snarled at his officers. "One primitive creature from a backwater world, and 100 soldiers cannot catch him. Sir, the jungle is difficult. Our sensors are unreliable. The terrain is hostile. Excuses. I want that human brought to me, dead or alive." But Tejo would not be caught. He knew these trees. He knew these shadows. He knew every hiding place, every trap, every secret path. And the jungle helped him. Birds called warnings. Vines parted to let him pass. Animals distracted soldiers at critical moments. It was like the forest itself had chosen a side. As night fell, Draven's forces had captured nothing, lost dozens to injuries and accidents. Their morale was cracking. And in the hidden ship, Valira worked faster than she ever had. The Starstone pulsed with energy. Systems came online one by one. The communication array glowed with readiness. She gathered every piece of evidence, every recording of Draven's crimes, every testament from survivors, every proof of her family's murder. She packaged it into a single broadcast, a truth bomb that would explode across 1,000 worlds at once. All she needed was time. Tejo would give her that time, even if it cost him everything. As the second night began, Draven finally lost his patience. "Forget the human," he ordered. "Focus sensors on Silurian technology. Find the princess. That is what matters." His officers obeyed. Scans swept the jungle, and then, finally, they found her ship. Draven smiled. "Send everyone," he commanded. "I want my bride brought to me before dawn." An army began moving through the jungle, toward Valira, toward the final battle, and somewhere in the darkness, bleeding from a dozen small wounds, exhausted beyond measure, Tejo felt the change in the jungle. They were coming. He had bought all the time he could. Now it was up to Valira. He turned toward the ship and began to run. Valira's hands moved across the controls. Her hearts pounded so hard she could hear them in her ears. On her sensors, she watched the army approaching. Hundreds of soldiers pushing through the jungle toward her position. She had minutes, maybe less. The ship hummed around her, systems powered up one after another. The Starstone glowed in the engine core, finally integrated, finally ready. But she could not run. Not yet. The broadcast needed to be sent first. Once it went out, it could never be stopped. 1,000 worlds would receive the truth about Draven at the same moment. His crimes, his murders, his lies, everything. She loaded the final data package into the communication array. Her finger hovered over the activation switch. Where was Tejo? The sensors showed movement at the edge of their detection range. A single figure running toward the ship. Human heat signature. Human heartbeat. He was alive, but soldiers were close behind him, 20 at least, gaining fast. Valira made her choice. She activated the broadcast. Energy surged through the ship. The communication array flared with light bright enough to see from orbit. A signal stronger than anything Earth had ever produced screamed into space. Across the galaxy, receivers picked up the transmission. Military channels, civilian frequencies, emergency broadcasts. Every system Valira could access carried the same message. Her face appeared on screens in 100 different star systems. Her voice spoke in dozens of languages. I am Princess Valira of the Silurian Empire. The woman Draven calls his bride. The woman he claims surrendered to his just rule. I am here to tell you the truth. The images followed. Recordings of Draven ordering the execution of her family. Evidence of worlds burned for refusing to bow. Testimonies from survivors. Data proving every lie he had told. This is who your commander really is. A murderer, a tyrant, a coward who kills children in their beds and calls it strength. I did not surrender to him. I ran. And I have been running ever since, gathering proof of his crimes. Valira's voice grew stronger. No more running. Today I fight back, not with weapons, with truth, because truth is the one thing Draven cannot defeat. The broadcast ended, but its effects were already spreading. On Draven's warship, officers stared at screens in shock. They had believed their commander's lies. They had trusted his version of events. Now they saw the truth with their own eyes. Draven burst onto his bridge, face twisted with rage. Cut the transmission! Block it! Stop it now! We cannot, Commander. It has already spread to multiple relay stations. Millions of people have seen it. Draven slammed his fist against a console. The screen cracked. Then we take the princess. We force her to say it was lies. Commander, one of his officers spoke quietly. Our own crew is asking questions. 3 ship captains have requested independent verification of what we just saw. Draven looked around his bridge. The officers would not meet his eyes. Something had changed. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with doubt. His empire of lies was cracking. On the ground, Tejo burst into the clearing around Valira's ship. He was wounded. Blood ran from cuts on his face and arms. His clothing was torn. His body screamed with exhaustion. But he was smiling. You did it, he breathed. Valira appeared at the ship's entrance. Tears streamed down her face. I did, but they are almost here. We have to go. Can the ship fly? Yes, finally yes. Tejo started to run toward her. Then he heard the sound behind him. Energy weapon charging. He turned. Draven stood at the edge of the clearing. He had come down personally. His armor gleamed in the moonlight. His weapon pointed straight at Tejo's chest. You, Draven hissed. One human. You destroyed everything. The truth destroyed everything, Tejo said calmly. I just helped it along. I will kill you slowly. I will make you beg for death, and then I will make her watch as I burn this entire planet. I do not think you will. You dare... Look up. Draven glanced toward his warship, and his face went pale. 2 of his escort ships had broken formation. They hung between the warship and the planet, weapons pointed at Draven's vessel. His communicator crackled. Commander Draven, this is Captain Sayla. We have seen the princess's broadcast. We have verified the evidence. We believed in you. We trusted you. And you lied to us. More ships were breaking away. The mutiny spread like fire. You are relieved of command, Captain Sayla continued. By the authority of the Silurian military code, surrender yourself for trial, or we will fire. Draven's face twisted with pure hatred. His weapon swung from Tejo toward Valira. If I cannot have the throne, he snarled, no one will. He fired. Valira's ship moved between them. The energy blast hit its hull and scattered harmlessly. The ship's shields, finally restored, held firm. Valira's voice came through the ship's speakers. It is over, Draven. Surrender! Draven laughed. It was an ugly sound, the laugh of a man who had lost everything. "Surrender? To you? To a princess who runs and hides? Never!" He raised his weapon again. Taeho moved without thinking. He crossed the distance in seconds. His body tackled Draven from the side. The weapon fired wildly, missing everything. They rolled in the dirt, fighting for control. Draven was stronger, bigger, trained for combat, but Taeho was fighting for something that mattered. He locked his hands around Draven's wrist, twisted. The weapon fell away. Draven roared and threw Taeho off. He pulled a knife from his belt. "I will gut you like the animal you are." Taeho rose slowly. He had no weapon, no armor, just himself, and the jungle. A snake dropped from a branch above Draven. Another rose from the grass at his feet. A third appeared behind him. Draven froze. "What? What is this?" "The jungle does not like you," Taeho said simply. "You came here with violence, with threats, with fire. This place remembers." Birds gathered in the trees around them. Dozens, hundreds, their eyes fixed on Draven. The grass rustled with things unseen. Draven's hands began to shake. "Call them off," he demanded. "Call them off or—" "I am not calling them. They came on their own. They are protecting their home." Valira stepped down from her ship. She walked toward Draven with the dignity of 10,000 years of royal blood. "You wanted to marry me," she said. "You wanted my crown, my legitimacy, my name, but you forgot something important, Draven. Silurian rulers do not just rule. They serve, they protect, they sacrifice for their people." She stood before him, small but unafraid. "I would rather marry a human who talks to trees than a monster who burns worlds." Draven's eyes widened, then narrowed. "A human? You would shame yourself with a primitive?" "He is worth 1,000 of you, and he showed me something your empire forgot. Strength is not about power. It is about what you do with your power. He had every chance to run. He stayed. He fought. He almost died. For someone he barely knew." She looked at Taeho with eyes full of warmth. "That is strength. That is what it means to be a leader." Ships descended around them. Soldiers emerged, but they did not serve Draven anymore. They served the truth. Captain Sela approached and bowed to Valira. "Your Highness, Commander Draven is under arrest. The fleet awaits your orders." Valira took a deep breath. The weight of empire settled on her shoulders. "Take him. Fair trial. Let justice be done properly as my family would have wanted." Soldiers led Draven away. He went silently, all his power gone. When it was done, Valira turned to Taeho. He stood among the trees, surrounded by birds and snakes that had come to protect him. He looked exhausted, wounded, beautiful. "You should go with them," he said quietly. "Your people need you." "I know. You will be a good ruler, better than Draven ever was." "I hope so." She walked to him, took his hands, her cool silver skin against his warm brown fingers. "Come with me," she whispered. "The galaxy is vast. There is so much I could show you." Taeho smiled sadly. "I belong here, in the jungle, with the trees and the birds and the snakes who saved my life." "I know." Her eyes were wet again. "But I had to ask. And I had to say no. For now. For now." The words hung between them. "The galaxy is not that big," Taeho said. "Not for someone who knows how to find their way." Valira laughed through her tears. "Is that a promise?" "It is a hope, and I have learned that hope is not foolish." She kissed him then. Not on the forehead like he had kissed her, on the lips. A real kiss. A kiss that said goodbye and hello, and I will find you again all at once. When she pulled away, her eyes shone like the stars she would soon return to. "Goodbye, Kang Taeho, the human who talks to trees. Goodbye, Princess Valira, the alien who learned to hope again." She walked to her ship, stopped at the entrance, looked back one more time. Then she was gone. The ship rose into the sky, higher and higher, until it was just a point of light among the stars. Taeho watched until even that light disappeared. The jungle was quiet around him, peaceful, his home. A bird landed on his shoulder, sang 3 soft notes. He smiled. Somewhere among the stars, a princess was rebuilding an empire with truth instead of lies. Somewhere, hope was becoming real again. And here, in a jungle on a small blue planet, a human who talked to trees had proved something the galaxy would never forget. The smallest voice could topple empires. The kindest heart could change worlds. And sometimes, the most primitive species was the most extraordinary of all. Taeho turned and walked deeper into his jungle. He had a feeling this was not the end, just the beginning.